Hi, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Devil's Advocate Trades Edition. So, Friday of last week, I dropped a podcast, which is the whole reason why I have this platform, is to give people an opportunity to have a conversation in regards to conflicts that happen, what's going on inside their businesses, the good, the bad, and the ugly. And I say that especially when I send out emails, I want to hear the bad, the ugly, but no one ever wants to talk about the ugly. They're all like, let's talk about all the good. But this is a really crucial moment. And I'm going to tell you all the things I've done. So this isn't going to be a super long podcast, but we're going to catch you guys up a little bit. Okay. So after that podcast launched, I had quite a few good conversations with the owner, Todd from A to Z Building Solutions. And for my own curiosity, I asked him, I was like, hey, you guys willing to open your books? You guys willing for me to take a look at this as an owner's rep? Are you guys willing to let me come in and critique you? You guys willing to let me look at your documents? You guys willing to let me go check out and talk to your clients, happy ones, mad ones, whatever? And they're like, absolutely. Like, not even a second thought. They were like, absolutely, 100%. Come and help us. Like if this is really a problem, come and help us. And I was like, fucking slick. So for my own sheer curiosity, I went and did a few things. Okay. So I went and checked out a couple of places. I went and talked to some of his reps his clients. And you know what? The one great thing about me is when you're an owner's representative, you have a way of finessing an open dialogue where even though these clients are happy with him, they were constructive. And I love that. I want constructive feedback. I can't hear that everything was fucking sunshine and rainbows. Like we all know that's a lie. Fucking gobsmack lie. Nothing goes perfect, not in construction. Like it just doesn't. So I talked to his clients and they did have really great reviews, but they also said things like, he's too much of a yes man. He should say no. He did lots for us. He went above and beyond. He changed things last minute. We felt bad. We're not super crazy about how he asks for money, and he gets a little bit hyper, and it comes across forward, and sometimes it comes across aggressive, but we know he means well and he did a great job and we're not unhappy with it. And I'm like, all good things, all constructive criticism, all constructive. Those are all things I can bring to him without him feeling brandish, because sometimes things that have happened are a catalyst for you to be better. Right. And so I've come across trades where I've given them shit about stuff and I'm like, hey, man, this is just an opportunity for you to be better. So you figure it out. You can either be pissed off with me and have a big fucking to-do about it, or you can actually do something about it. Now, there's 3 things I've learned since I did this podcast. And I wouldn't even say I've learned it. I'd say that it's come more to the surface. Okay. First things first, contractors have no recourse when a client is pissed at them. Okay. They have no real recourse other than to say, I'm sorry, here's some money back, or walk away from the site completely if it's a difficult client, or lien their property. In Alberta, there is the Prompt Payment and Construction Lien Act that will help you with that. Clients, however, have an amazing recourse. They can scour social media. Not many business owners, not many GCs or trades are going to jump online and start bashing clients. It's a bad look. It's a sour taste. It's not good. So there needs to be a bit of a systemic change there. And I'm talking about a checklist sheet, I'm thinking in my brain, where you get a checklist from your municipality, and like the municipalities are going to be like, fuck, thanks for adding shit to our fucking list. But hear me out. Get a checklist if you're the client or if you're the contractor. And they have the municipality has a rating system. How many times they pull permit? Are they on time? Do they have complaints? How many complaints? Have they been investigated? Is the city? So then it goes from like low risk, high risk, whatever. And that goes for both, because if it comes back that the city has an opportunity for the vendors to say that was a very difficult client, I've lost X amount of dollars, they can then rate the homeowner, okay, at that address. So it's got to be the homeowner and the address, not one or the other, because people sell their fucking houses. Okay. So I think that would be a really great thing. So then there's a tracking system so that when 2 people are going to engage into a contract or an agreement together, they have to go through their municipality, because permits have to be pulled anyway. And right away, it's shot through on both sides, the rating system of both people. We have no information on this owner. please proceed accordingly. And then, or we've had concerns on this owner. Please conduct yourself accordingly to protect contractor rights, right? So it might be, I'm going to need 50% upfront. And then when that 50% is completed, I'm going to need the other 50 before I complete the entire project in order to protect yourself. And then with clients, it could be contractor's been under investigation too many times, too many complaints called, so that it'll have like a poor or a really good score, right? I think there needs to be some sort of systemic change in that. Now, I will tell you, I'm a little bit biased on the fact that there's a part of me that hopes that Donna is wrong. Okay. Based on what we're seeing, there's a lot of defamation flavored aspects going on here. Like I even found stuff where she'd put on like Crime Watch. I'm like, Crime Watch, like settle down. Here's what I'm not going to do. I'm not going to diminish Donna's feelings or her experience. That was her experience, and those are her feelings right now. But that's her recourse. Her recourse was to be able to have access to all of these platforms. And what does the contractor have? So I want you as contractors and owners and subtrades to put yourselves in A to Z's shoes and say, what would I do? If an owner has all of this at their fingertips, then what? And then it came back that when we were doing our digging, that this isn't the only contractor she's pulled this with. Maybe not CTV News, but bad reviews and blasting them online. And I was like, because at the other side of it, Donna, very forward facing, she seems like someone who's very community involved. She's a pillar. She does a lot of really great things. And then there's A to Z, they got 2025 renovation award of the year, and so this is what I said. I said this right to Todd because I haven't had a chance to talk to Donna. Donna hasn't reached out to me. Nobody's reached out to me since I aired, launched my podcast, because I'm not a broadcaster. I'm just a whatever fucking words you want to use, but I'm just a podcaster. Podcasters don't fall under the same realms as broadcasters. So anyway, no one's contacted me. Now, from what I understand, a cease and desist went out Monday from Todd's lawyer so that nobody will be talking to me, which is unfortunate. And I did have some people reach out to me that had some concerns as well. And I took their concerns and said, hey, if you want to come on the podcast, let's go. Let's get on the podcast, because I believe that everybody has the right to have this platform to talk about what their issues are, whether you've been a sub or a client or whatever. Come on and talk about it, because there needs to be systemic change inside of industry. Contractors get screwed over and have to walk away from, tens of thousands, possibly hundreds of thousands of dollars. And clients are out that money and nothing gets done, or it gets done poorly, or the work is poor, or there's not proper permits, and then they're getting fines from their municipality. And that's not fair. So there is dirt on both sides. No one's hands are clean. Do I think there was words between Todd and Donna? 100% I do. Do I think they were very unfavorable? Yeah, I do. Because I've had an opportunity to go into Todd's world and see what he's doing, how he responds. He let me go to a couple of his clients. I had some great comments, as I was saying. And, he had one client that was like, we had so many things that we thought we could get done. And then we couldn't afford the last X amount of thousands of dollars. And he just said, I'll wash it. Don't worry about it. You've done all this work. We've made this home beautiful. You're happy. And they said, and that was something that was so unreal to us. And then they said, not only that, but we would change things at the drop of a hat, colors and whatnot. And he'd already done it. He was already installing it. And he was like, okay. And he went and changed it. There was no fight. There was no sigh. It was just no problem. And they're like, I wish he wasn't such a yes man. I wish he would just tell me no, because, well, no one's going to say, I wish he would charge me, but they say, I wish he wasn't such a yes man in this aspect. And I was like, fair. And then when I went to the other lady, she was really quite content when she talked to me, and she said, well, I feel like this has been going on for a while. And I said, okay, well, tell me about it. And she said, well, it was October. This is when we agreed to this. And I said, okay, when were permits pulled? And she said, well, permits were pulled in February. And I'm like, your permits were pulled in February and we're already at boarding? And she's like, yeah, because I went and looked at the unit. I could see everything of the insulation, the plumbing, the electrical, new windows. I could see it all. Okay, so we're right after framing stage. We're coming into boarding. And I was like, oh, yeah, he's doing really good time based on where he's at. Because my neighbor got his basement done I think they started end of August and we're done by like mid-November. it's like 3 months. So I'm like, he's pretty much on par. Like, you know, he got the permits in Feb and he's already coming up to boarding and we're almost middle of April. So I'm like, it's good. Another one of his clients, she was away on a trip, but she had nice things to say as well, you know? And like I said, all had constructive criticism. Nothing like he's horrible. Like some of them said, you know, he's hyper. He asks for money a certain way. It kind of gets a little daunting. And I thought about that. I was like, okay, let's see how he gets, right? So I wanted to do it from a different perspective. We both kind of tested each other. Not even gonna lie. He sent me into a house where he knew there were blatant deficiencies and he wanted to see, because everyone can talk the talk, but can you walk the walk, right? So he sent me into a house to see how many deficiencies I could pull apart, right? I walked into this place that's supposed to be finished. He hasn't done his final walkthrough. He hasn't checked it since his last finisher was there. It hasn't been cleaned by the cleaners yet. And those were the three things. Those are the two things he told me. He's like, I haven't done my final walkthrough on it. The cleaners haven't been sent in. I haven't checked for deficiencies just yet. But why don't you go in there and take a poke around? And I'm thinking, for a guy who's trying to clear his name, why would you send someone like me with a big mouth and a microphone in somewhere where there's a bunch of fucking deficiencies? And I'm like, either he's got a really big ego, and he doesn't think there's anything wrong, or he's really got nothing to hide. And then there was the other item, because when I went in, I sent him 34 pictures in 5 minutes of deficiencies. And I'm like, this isn't like, you know, there's a paint speck and I'm 5 meters, you know, or five inches from the wall. I fucking hate owners that do that. You guys have to stop doing that, okay? Warranty's not going to come in. If you are standing in a certain location that gives between 5 and 4 feet and you can't see the discrepancy from multiple angles, they're not going to fix it. Don't get up there with your camera. Don't zoom in with your camera, okay? No one's going to fix it for you. You're going to be waiting forever, especially new home build. They're going to be like, piss off. So you have to know that as a new homeowner. There are certain things that, yes, 100% fall under warranty. And then there are things where you're just getting nitpicky. I know you're saying, I'm spending $500,000 on this. I want it perfect. I don't disagree with you, but that's the way it is in construction. It's never going to be 100% perfect. And you know what? For me, when things are 100% perfect, you're going to find something wrong with it anyway, because we're just how we are. And we're in like such a crazy time right now that people just want to find something wrong with something so they can argue. But some people don't. And you know what? And a lot of concerns are valid. And I think you should always bring your concerns forward and give any contractor an opportunity to rectify it. I always say it's not how you start, it's how you finish. So I went in there, I did my walkthrough, and I was calling him, and I'm not going to lie to you. I criticized the shit out of him. I was like, what the fuck are you doing sending me into a house with fucking goddamn multiple deficiencies? You're going to have to pull fucking tile from this shower. This is fucking gross. I'm like, who the fuck did this? And I'm just like, and I lost my mind. And he was like, nope, I understand. I'm on my way. No problem. Okay. And I was like, and normally somebody would be like, and this is what I normally get for guys who have big egos, guys who think they do no wrong. This is what happens. Oh, that's my guy. I just, you know, I'm going to fire him. That he probably fucked it up. Blah, blah. They shift it. He didn't. He did none of that. He said, you know what? I just had to let 2 of my trades go last week for something similar to what you're talking about. I was hoping that wasn't going to be the problem, but no problem. I'm going to send in a finisher. I'm coming. I'm on my way. I'm going to go look at it today. Thank you for bringing these to my attention. Is there anything else you want me to look at and do? And I said, I want you to do this right. Even though the homeowner is away and they won't be back for some time, this needs to be delivered to them top notch. And he said, I agree. And I was like, yeah, because if you're going to sell a product and you're going to stand behind your 2025 award of renovation, basement renovation, then I need you to show me that that's what you're capable of. And then I do have to go see one, and I will. I think I'm going to go check it out. One that's totally finished where the homeowner is like just over the moon about it. And you know, we can always critique everybody else's work. Let's not forget that, everybody. We can critique everybody's work. For a guy who's been doing it for years and is an amazing finisher, someone's going to come in and find something wrong. Nothing is ever perfect. We got to stop looking for perfect. I'm not saying settle. Don't fucking settle, but perfect, like perfection. You know, like I always tell people, I don't ever want to be perfect, because then you have to maintain it, number one. And number two, then what? Then what? You've hit your glass ceiling and then you have to maintain it. And that's fucking, it's tiring. It's tiring. There's so many good contractors out there. So yes, so part of me is a little biased. It's like, I kind of want Donna to be wrong on this one because there's no fucking recourse for contractors, consultants, people inside of trade, subs. There's no real recourse other than leaning people, going after people, suing people, or walking away. Walking away. Nobody wants to hire a lawyer and sue. Nobody wants to throw liens on a house. They don't, it's not good. It's not a good vibe for them. They don't want to do any of that. But here's the other part of it. Homeowners don't know. They don't know what every phase is supposed to look like. Like, I'm going to give you an example. Okay. So I do this for a living. I'm an owner's rep. I do this for a living. I go in at every stage from start to finish and I look at everything. And I know what kind of fucking mess it can look like. Like you're sitting there thinking to yourself, Jesus Christ. Like, is this ever going to end? Sometimes, and especially if you're inside the house and you're doing a basement suite, it sounds like your house is going to collapse. And you're like, oh my God, what are the fucking doing down there? And so here's what happened. So that was my test. I truly believe, I think Todd tested me. I think he wanted to see if I could walk the walk and talk the talk, because the deficiencies that I pulled out would not be something, some of them were very obvious and some of them you had to know what you're fucking looking for. So, and I have lots of wonderful men in my corner that I have had befriended and have been in my life for quite some time that continue to educate me, teach me, coach me, mentor me inside of this industry. And it is why I have the knowledge. It is why I know where to go look. It is why I continue to push forward in this industry, because I have so many amazing mentors inside of this industry. And yes, the majority of them are all male inside of industry that I have for mentors and when it comes to building. And there's so much to learn. So don't ever think for a second you know everything, because you're fucking wrong. You don't know everything. There's so much to learn. It's so vast. So I love learning. And so I think it's great that I have all these people in my corner now. With that being said, where I was going with that is that at the end of the day, you have to know what you're doing. So that was my test to Todd. So that was his test to me. Make sure I could walk the walk, right? So then all of a sudden, no lie, my water heater shits the bed. So I'm like, I'm going to get Todd to do it. So I hired his company. Permit pulled. I got my inspector coming out Thursday. Job's done. Did a great job. Was in and out. I went with a tankless water tank. I had a Bradford White. They're one of the top of the line tanks, but a lot of people are going tankless now. It's basically, it's hot water on demand, and lots of great reviews. He got me a good price for it. I paid him right away for material. And that's where I got a chance to talk to him, because I got to see that side where he was like, okay, this is how much it is. I'm going to need you to send me this. And I right away said, send me the receipt and I will happily pay you for material. And that was his cue. And he was like, oh, this is what she's talking about. I'm like, comes across aggressive. I'm like, I know what you're asking for. I'm not upset about it. I'm not offended. But it comes across kind of aggressive, or like, why are you keep nickel and diming me? Why do you keep asking me for money? But he's not. He's asking you to pay for the materials. So that's out of the way. So now the material costs, for the most part, majority of it has been paid. And so now I'm going to pay the rest of it to him in the next few hours to make sure there's no problems. But I've gone down there. So once the inspection passes, then he'll get the remainder of his money. And that's how it should be. That's how it should be. So we're going to talk about that with him, and we're going to get everything figured out and help him out. And no, that is not free of charge. Anything he needs me to do from the operational standpoint, which is something I did before I moved into condo, was I helped trades with their operational side, and I'm good at it. And I can bring companies to a whole new level if they're willing to do the work. It's not me bringing them there. It's me giving them all the suggestions, all the tools, everything they need, and they have to decide to get there. Okay. They have to say, yes, we're on board, and do it and maintain it. Okay. It's not always, I can't make or break anybody. You make or break yourself. I'm just someone that's there to help you. I'd say I'm a tool, but then everybody would laugh. But anyhow, so I'm just a resource to help people get to where they need to get to. Now, that was my test. I wanted to see how he did. He did a great job. Got the building permits, inspectors coming out from Airdrie. I'm happy. I got hot water. My daughter's happy because she could take a shower in my hot water tank, shit the bed finally, like yesterday. And when we called Bradford, and here's what I loved about Todd. Okay. I'm going to tell you right now, I have zero concerns about this contractor. He stood in my kitchen and called suppliers and let me listen to everything. And people say, well, of course he does, Lisa. You have a microphone. No, he doesn't have to do that. He did take off a few times and say, I'm going to call them on my way. But he didn't hide anything from me. He showed me everything. And they'll say, well, of course you did, Lisa. You're doing an investigation on him. Not really, because he could tell me to kick rocks. If we're being honest, my podcast was done on Friday. I got his side out there, and that's all I'm really there to do. I don't have to do anything. I'm just interested because I believe that there is a problem inside of the industry that needs to change. There's so many little problems, but let's start making ripples and waves. Waves in some areas and ripples in another, because conflict is so rampant in this industry. And I think that it needs to be addressed. And I want to believe that there needs to be some sort of tracking system where you can go on, like, even like, here you go, companies, someone who does this already online, have a like people who do review stuff like Trustpilot, do something where it's a rating system on both client and contractor. Maybe we come up with something like that, where it's an application where you can just look it up. The contractor can look up and put in client's name, and it comes up and it's like 1 star, doesn't pay, has like a whole bunch of stuff underneath. Clients will be like, well, that's not fair. Well, but it's fair to do it to a contractor. Why can't we know what you're all about? I can tell you right now that the minute I call any of my trades and say I've liened a property, all of them back away. Why? Because if you're going to piss off your advocate who's there to help you and make sure we sharpen our pencils and make sure that they're doing risk management for you, and you're going to piss off your fucking advocate, we want nothing to do with you. You're terrifying at that point. So a lot of trades that I work with, and they're good trades, will back away completely from that. They'll be like, nope. And that's something that people need to recognize too. When you create waves in the industry, people pay attention, and trades do talk. We're not a big industry. The other point that I want to make is that there was someone that did come out and have a conversation with me about some of the other side, the negative side. And everybody's allowed to have their opinion. And I invited them on the podcast, and I hope that some of them come on the podcast and have a conversation with me. But at the end of the day, I believe that this all comes down to conflict. I would have loved CTV to have done the segment based off of disputes and conflict and what you can do about it on both sides. I think that would have been a great segment, because it does happen. And I think they would have got a really good turnout for that. Like, they would have got some really good feedback from people. But the way everything was kind of put was kind of unfair. I did hear from the city of Calgary. They were very candid about the idea that when a complaint is made, they have to do an investigation. Quite rightly so. I would hope that my municipality has my back when I give a complaint about a contractor who's supposed to have building permits and passes and whatnot, inspections. I would hope the building would do an internal investigation and say, yes, no, whatever, right? And then notify the contractor, please be advised that there was an investigation that came in about you. And we have notified that any and all, our findings are inconclusive, or our findings are that, everything is above board, or our findings are subpar, and we need to have a conversation about that, whatever the case may be. Anyhow, that's kind of where I'm at with that. I think it would have been a really good news segment if we would have done it that way, because dispute happens on both sides. Nobody's fucking innocent. People screw over clients, and clients screw over contractors. It's a dog-eat-dog world, and fucking gross, and I don't like it. But that's my thing. You know what? Todd did a great job, and he will get paid the remainder of his money once the inspector comes and clears it. And I'm happy. I got to take a shower. Yay. And I would... at this point, I'd recommend him. I think he's a great contractor. He's very polite. He's very passionate, a little rough around the edges, but gets a little hyper, but speaks quickly. But you know what? I see a lot of that in myself as well. I'm someone who gets passionate and hyper and gets called aggressive, and I'm not. I'm very much an advocate, and he does advocate for his clients, and he does do. I don't think he's perfect by any stretch. I think there's a lot of things that he could change, that him and his partner could change, and they're so open to doing it, and I love that. So we've got some plans to help them with that. And that is an LPM hire. So that's an agreement between LPM and A to Z. So we'll be doing that to help him as well. Other than that, that's all I have to say. You guys are going to catch Michael and I on hard hats and hard truth tomorrow. I'm sure we're going to circle back on this a little bit, because Michael's probably got some more things to say. Todd's lawyer has put out a cease and desist. I think I said that. So I'm not going to hear from Donna or anybody else, because they've been put on a cease and desist. So I can't imagine them reaching out to me. But like I said, we're not going to shit all over Donna. We're not going to shit all over Todd. Donna has every right to feel the way she does. I'm not happy about what she did and how she went about it. She pushed shit on Crime Watch. I'm like, why? I think she went overboard, but I don't know. And this is the biggest thing that I said to Todd. As I said, here's the thing, Todd, I don't really know you, but I do know that I want to make sure that you're not one of the crazies out there, because I've worked for crazies, and I've worked alongside some crazies, and it happens. And, but what I do want you to understand is that I walk into this understanding that people can be, positive, to the client or to whomever they need to in order to get the job or do whatever. And then they're completely somebody else when the door closes. So I say that to both you and her. I believe that, Donna being like a pillar of the community and being out there and doing all these wonderful things, doesn't mean that she's a kind person. And Todd going above and beyond and doing all these things doesn't mean he's a kind person. We all have a little crazy in us, and it all depends on how it chooses to come out. I think both of them have valid concerns. I think both of them, I believe that Todd got railroaded a little bit on this one, a lot. I think Donna is valid in her feelings, because I can't tell her how to feel. I wasn't there. I didn't hear what she had to say. She can tell me all she wants. He can tell me all he wants. But at the end of the day, it turns into a he said, she said, and we all know it. We've all been there. We've all done that. Oh, don't do anything that I wouldn't do. We'll catch you tomorrow. Yeah. Don't do anything crazy.